Hello lords and ladies, welcome to Cartoon Hangout, your place for all things cartoon. Episode 8, The Eve Illustrator, is probably the cutest episode thus far due to the villain of the week, Nathaniel, having a huge crush on Marinette, even going so far as to draw a comic where he saves her from previous akumatized characters Lady Wi-Fi and Stormy Weather.
Ooh, look, Sabrina, it's him as a superhero. And look who he's saving. It's Marinette. He is so totally crushing on you, Marinette.
We'll discuss him some more in a bit. Most of the episodes thus far have been your standard fare. That's not a dig, just an observation. But I think this is one of the first episodes to stray a little bit from the formula. Instead of Marinette in disguise as Ladybug for most of the episode, she actually jumps into the action, so to speak, as herself, in order to get the drop on poor Nathaniel. This also gives us a rare mode of insight into the interactions of Cat Noir and Marinette, rather than Cat Noir and Ladybug, or Adrian and Marinette, which is pretty fascinating to witness.
Hey, I haven't even introduced myself. I'm Cat Noir.
Yeah, I know. You kind of save the day all the time and stuff. I'm Marinette. So what are you doing here?
I'll admit, he's still just as flirty with Marinette as he is with Ladybug, but to me it most likely is how he acts in general as Cat Noir. It just happens that his flirting with Ladybug comes from his heart, rather than just his ego. Here he's just showing off. These aren't the only characters we get insight into in this episode either. No, we also explore the friendship between Chloe and Sabrina. And boy, it's just as twisted as you'd expect. Let me correct something. It's not a friendship, really. Chloe uses Sabrina, and Sabrina just lets it happen. Honestly, I felt so bad for Sabrina up to this point, and I even felt worse when I discovered Chloe was just using her. Although Sabrina is fairly quick to turn on Chloe when she thinks she's gotten a new best friend in Marinette, so she's not so innocent either. I'd love to see a status quo change between the two of them, but I don't think that'll happen this season, if ever. The relationship is just really symbiotic in a way. Chloe gains the most, obviously, help with homework, and Sabrina gains a quote-unquote friend. Reminds me of Cece from Code Lyoko. Finally, let's talk about the villain of the episode, Eve Illustrator. What a name, huh? Just rolls off the tongue easily. I think this makes our second tech-based villain for the dub, and I actually really like that. In any other cartoon, you might see him with a pen and paper. Heck, there's an anime going on right now where one character's power involves having to draw a monster in order to trap it, but it takes place somewhat in the future. Why is he using paper? So I'm personally in love with the idea that Eve Illustrator's drawings are on a tablet instead, mostly because working in today's technology is quite fascinating. But let's not forget his inventive use for his powers. I do want to say I dislike the English name that they chose for him. I appreciate how punny it is, combining evil with illustrator, but a direct translation of his French name would have sounded better, in my personal opinion. Basically, he could have just been the illustrator. That's just my personal nitpick though. Ultimately, the names don't matter as much as the villain themselves, and Nathaniel's probably the most interesting one so far. Why? Well, the crush aspect isn't why, because we've already had Copycat crushing on Ladybug, and we've already had a tech-based villain with Lady Wi-Fi. No, I find him interesting because he actually doesn't follow Hawkmoth's orders, at least at first. While other villains have taken too long to acquire the Miraculouses, they at least actively attempted to do so, even if they got distracted sometimes. Nathaniel was so enamored with Marinette that he planned on disobeying Hawkmoth for quite a bit of time. It's because of this that we learn something new about Hawkmoth's powers.
So get it, or else. Okay, I will!
He can take control over their bodies. I know this probably shouldn't come as too much of a shock, given that it's his powers that allow others to get theirs, but it's still the newest piece of information we've gotten on Hawkmoth in forever. This new info makes me want to know even more about Hawkmoth and his end goals. Why does he need the Miraculouses? Has there always been a Hawkmoth, or is he the same one? The very idea that there's been a Hawkmoth to fight Ladybug and Cat Noir seems to be inspired by The Legend of Zelda. Hawkmoth really has the potential to be a great villain, but so far we only get glimpses of him when he akumatizes his victims. At this point, he's the Rita Repulsa of the show. I'm hoping we get more episodes with him in the near future. Can you imagine him actually taking the fight to Ladybug and Cat Noir? It'd be epic, certainly. Another great episode with a pretty stellar new villain that incorporates technology in an interesting way, and allows us a somewhat closer look at some of the characters' relationships, even some we haven't seen yet. And that's been my review of episode 8. Let me know your thoughts on the episode in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe for more Miraculous Ladybug reviews every Monday. Take care.